Is it the case that there are people who see evil spirits because they have a mental illness called schizophrenia, or because the evil spirits are responsible for them having a mental illness like schizophrenia? People don't see evil spirits but use this imagery because of the way they try to explain how they are affected. No evil spirit, in the sense of some supernatural being, is responsible for any mental illness, schizophrenia included. We may talk of evil spirits as the souls of those who are inhumane, but they are powerless in the spiritual world. And they are powerless by their own doing. To become inhumane, or as my late psychopathic husband used to say, evil, when he came out of the closet, the person has to deaden their conscience, which means they end up having no empathy for anyone that they look to harm or who is suffering. To deaden their conscience, they affect their consciousness, which is a quality of the soul. This is why they end up powerless in the spiritual realm. A dead conscience and thus spiritual powerlessness is the reason why they use toxic mind games and underhanded cheats to adversely affect others in their relationships and therefore gain power and influence over them to be able to manipulate and control them. And this is not simply limited to mental illnesses like schizophrenia. There are a lot of situations, causing the person to react as to suffer some physiological problems because their reaction to ideas are bodily reactions. In a nutshell, they are toxic mind games. The person affected may, depending on how they are being affected, feel that there is someone else that they can't see, touch, or hear in their vicinity and is affecting them or trying to affect them. This is why some people have, over the many years, come to believe in evil spirits and ones that are affecting people or animals. In most of the toxic mind games, a hidden threat is used, and this is set up with an introduction to the criminals used. The introduction looks like a common everyday event, but one that draws the attention of the person they wish to affect later, what they call the target. If the person sees something suspicious, then they will be encouraged to dismiss it, often by calling the person paranoid or foolish, etc. Once the person dismisses what they have seen as unimportant or irrelevant, then that person will later have awareness, if the criminals are again brought into their vicinity, but will not be sure why they are so aware of feels strange or a bit off. So it can be used to get something, for example. I strongly suspect that this method is used where a person is being convinced to believe some idea, for instance, that some weird bugs are crawling around under their skin, or that some celebrity has fallen in love with them. If, however, they want the person to become paranoid and believe that they are being affected by evil spirits or even simply other people that can't be identified, then I think that an obscure threat may be used. This means that the person is not encouraged to dismiss what they had seen in the introduction. So if they later become aware of the criminals used, it still won't help them explain what is happening. The person may end up with a severe fear reaction, and at the same time, they are aware of some others, whom they cannot identify as the cause of their problems, even if they see them. Or they may be led to believe someone around them is the cause of their problems. They will be seen by others around them, who are not part of the toxic mind games, as paranoid, delusional, and mentally ill. They are shunned instead of getting moral support, as the psychiatric profession has made a lot of reference in the media when there are serial killings that the killer is schizophrenic or has some mental illness. As the person cannot identify the source of their problems, but at the same time feels that they are being affected in some nebulous way, it would be very easy for them to begin to believe that some evil spirit is affecting them. And they are being affected by evil spirits, but those evil spirits have flesh and blood and bones and names and addresses and mobile phones. The vivid imagery may feel like they are seeing things or hearing things, but I strongly suspect it is only in the mind and not that they see or hear anything, even if the effect is strong enough to feel real. The problem that there are in medical science today is the paradigm that materialism is all that there is, and thus they only consider the physiology and nothing else. Furthermore, both telepathy and ESP are being discredited as the experiments are not being done properly. Certainly, they are using related subjects these days, but they want to get them to see images, and even in doing that they are using very difficult conditions. Then when they get 34% or more success, they want to discard most of it as chance or coincidence. This is not scientific. One does a control experiment to have confidence that the results they are seeing are due to the experimental conditions. A person's reactions to ideas are physiological, and that needs to be taken into account. Trying to explain everything from the physical only may be profitable, but it doesn't provide any solutions or help with healing for the people. Once a person understands the nature of the problem seen in the disease, then they can overcome the problem because they can discard the ideas as rubbish. If we consider the ideas as our thinking, which is what we are told by medical scientists, i.e., that all ideas are created by our brain, then we are unable to discard them, or at least unable to discard them easily because our thinking carries our authority. We become caught up in wondering, why am I thinking this? And of course, there is no answer because the idea is only a perception, a mental perception of a malicious suggestion by some evil person wanting to gain power and influence over them. The reality is that we are more than a body, a meat robot, even if we can't show that in any experiment, scientifically. We cannot prove that we have subjective experiences scientifically either, but we do have subjective experiences. So demanding physical proof is not going to give all the answers. Is this helpful? Like and subscribe for more videos.